I would say we go urban exploring probably about, I don't know, like 2 or 3 times every month. We're running out of locations now.
Especially in Sheffield, you have to wait for the good places to have access. Again, you know, and so for months it might be closed up, so you can't go there at all. And then suddenly you'll be going to the same place, you know, every other day for 2 weeks because that's when it's open, and that's your chance to get in. Well, actually, because I've always been interested in photography, I discovered urbexing through that, looking at various people's photographs and thinking, oh, these are interesting, this derelict building. I stumbled across all the forums for urbexing, looking for like general photography, and from there sort of gained an insight into what it was like, and then began doing it myself, I suppose.
No one's been there for ages. Like, some of these buildings, like, they haven't been occupied or used in a proper way since, like, I think we came in one building and there was a phone book from 1984 or something like that. And some of the building, like the offices and stuff, like, people would have worked there every day for a good few years, and then 20 years later there's just me walking around just like stumbling and breaking around loads of stuff.
I mean, the general code of urbexers, if there is one, is leave it as you found it. But that often isn't the case, because these places are already so messed up that you kind of forget that little rule and end up taking little bits. I mean, I've found various things. I've found, one of my most prized possessions, I guess, would be, I found a little box of slide films that would have gone into a little slide projector. And it was just really cool looking at these sort of really old, dusty slides that someone had made and had been left in this building for years.
I take so much stuff home, it's ridiculous. The thing that I really love, when we were in Stanley Tools, we found this medical book that just said, and it was like a knife factory, so obviously there was a lot of medical reports of like, Linda slashed her finger open today. I suppose the legality of it is pretty silly because, you know, no victim, no crime. But I've never really considered it illegal. It seems ridiculous when people remind me it is actually illegal. You know, that's just crazy. What am I doing wrong? I'm walking around a building, you know. It's just stupid.
I have been caught a couple of times. I've mostly been caught by security guards rather than the police, because it's very rare for the police to respond to stuff like that if the place is already patrolled by a security firm. Also, police are pretty identifiable. If we see a cop car coming up, we tend to, you know, get the hell out of there. Whereas security people tend to sort of come in unmarked vehicles, so you don't see them approaching, and that's when you get caught. We always try to research the site before we go. Firstly, for entry points. People are pretty tight-lipped about entry points because obviously if you give that away, everyone can go there. And you don't want that because that ruins the site inevitably.
There are certain things that you bring to any kind of exploration that are essential. Things like your camera or some good sturdy shoes, or torches, a crowbar, things like that, but I don't know, I think it's different for everyone. Talking to people, I find, is the best way to find a new site. Because you can go online and Google abandoned buildings and find a multitude of old stuff, but if you want to find the real stuff, you gotta talk to the people that have been there, you know. I think documenting it is the most important part, maybe. Because, like I say, these buildings aren't going to be there forever, you know. And, like, I've seen a lot of good graffiti just get sprayed over with yellow paint just because it's on illegal property, and the fact that it's bloody good art means nothing to them, you know.
Like the whole kind of desecration of these places I find really interesting, and the decomposition of it as well is really interesting to me. I mean, it depends on the place. I mean, some places you go to because, you know, it was a really interesting place when it was open and was used, and so naturally it's really interesting to visit when it's derelict. Other places are bog standard warehouses but have, you know, great pieces of art in, and so it's worth visiting for that. I've actually been really scared a couple of times. Possibly the scariest time was we were in a bank, and we opened this lift shaft, and there was like this red floor. I mean, it looked like a really rusty, eroded kind of lift shaft, if you know what I mean. And we realised that it wasn't actually a floor; it was in fact a layer of rust on a really deep pool. And we dropped a stone down there to see how far it was, and we didn't hear it hit the bottom. So we reckon it was maybe a couple of basement floors deep. I suppose I'd divide my time between the actual exploration of it, trying to find every little nook and cranny of the building, and also just taking it in, you know, finding out what it was used for, you know, why these things have been left there.
And I like to think of all the opportunity people thought it held, and all the jobs and prospects and all the families it would create and everything like that, and now it's just this old rusted down piece of crap.
Half the appeal is knowing what it was about, or trying to find out what it was about. I mean, sometimes we visit places with no idea, and, you know, we see bits and can piece together a little sort of puzzle in a way and try and work out what it was used for.
Some people are really against taking stuff from there, and I can see why, because, like, if we came one time and we saw like a really great old TV and we were just, oh, we gotta come back with our cameras one time, and then we do come back with our cameras and someone's taken the thing, so no one else can enjoy it, it does kind of suck.
I don't so much as worry about a site being destroyed as much as I'm disappointed when I hear about it. I mean, because it's such an illegal activity, we don't have a say. We couldn't turn up as a group of urbex and say, no, don't knock this down. You know, we want to keep coming here and smashing your windows.
At the same time that they redevelop it, another 3 businesses go out of business. So it's like, you plant one tree and then you cut 3 down. Sometimes I wish more people knew about this, but sometimes I wish they didn't, because then it would become a big thing. Maybe I'd like more people to be interested in some extent, just to the point that they consider it something that people do and not just an illegal hobby.